Stuart Denham. The skinny man can. The skinny man can. Stuart Denham.
2 weeks ago, my wife and I decided to make a whirlwind trip to Colorado to visit family. Before we had the time to meet with family, I sat down and met with the gal that bought my business back in 1995. We spent some time talking and reminiscing, and it really became quite maudlin, some of the things that we discussed during that time. Let us rewind. It's the summer of 1992. I'm on a fishing trip with my sister and her husband off the coast of Canada. One afternoon over margaritas, the conversation turned to entrepreneurship. I was at a crossroads in my life at that time and was ready for a change. Just before leaving, I remember my wife complaining about the delivery service she was using with her company. They had a monopoly, and I decided it was time for competition. My sister's husband, Jay, was a very successful businessman, and one of the things he talked about was creating a name and creating an impact that people remembered. And that's when we discovered and designed OSM Delivery. OSM stood for One Skinny Man with a Big Family. Mind you, I had 3 kids and a dog, so the name was fitting. And I only weighed about 135 pounds at the time, so it really fit in. When I returned home, the first order of business was to get a cell phone. Again, this is 1992, and Motorola just introduced the brick. It was sleek. It may fit in your pocket, and in a worst case scenario, could be used as a weapon. They didn't have free phone programs back then, so it cost me about $500 for the phone, and it seemed like every time I looked at it, I was being charged minutes, let alone using it. I had to create a client base, so I got a Macintosh computer, a printer, and used the phone book and built my own database. Every day I sent out between 50 and 100 flyers marketing my business to people that would use small package delivery. I was traveling between Glenwood Springs and Aspen, which is about 40 miles of some of the craziest roads you've ever seen. I was only charging $5 per package, so volume was the key. We sent flyers, and finally my client base began to build. A couple weeks later, after I was happily delivering my packages, I received a notice in the mail. I found out that I was required to be licensed by the Public Utilities Commission. Along with that letter came the application, and it hit me like a brick. I almost thought it was the phone at first, but not. The application weighed almost 10 pounds and was 125 pages long. It took me 2 days to complete, and I finally got it sent off. A short time later, I received another letter in the mail. My application was being contested by a major trucking company that didn't want some skinny guy coming in and taking all their business. So I created a campaign. On the back of my delivery truck, I had a big sign that said, "Save the Skinny Man." Call this number for details. I gathered community support, and I fought the PUC and the company that was challenging me. After a few simple stipulations that I wouldn't haul items over 100 pounds or crazy things like that, we came to an agreement, and I was happily delivering my 10-pound packages. We continued on for the next 2.5 years, happily delivering packages. I hadn't had a vacation at that time, so I decided to come to Reno for the National Bowling Tournament. It was the first year they'd opened the bowling stadium. And by the time I left Reno, I knew this was going to be my new home. I ran home after the trip. We put the house on the market, found us a place to live here, and began negotiations for selling the business. One of the gals that was a customer of mine saw the potential and the growth that my business was taking. 3 weeks later, she bought my business. Janet was a wonderful girl, and she couldn't pass off as the skinny man. The business now became OSM, which is One Speedy Mama. The business is still in operation today. It grosses nearly $1 million a year. She's either bought or eliminated all of her competition. And the one lesson that I learned during that time, always put a residual in your contract. Madam Trustman.